Hello, YouTube. It's Mangaka, and today I wanted to go through a very quick rundown of some confirmations coming out from Arc System Works regarding the Season 4 patch of Guilty Gear Strive. And because of that, and how it relates to some of the balance patch videos that I've been doing so far, I felt it was important to address these things and go over them here. So this is Ken Miyauchi. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. He is a producer of Guilty Gear Strive at Arc System Works, and 15 hours ago today, he tweeted this out: "Dear Guilty Gear Strive players, I'm seeing many of your concerns on the recent patch 1.40 regarding the latest battle balance update. Internally, I've been talking to the teams about it and discussed what we can do and how soon that can be released. I will keep you posted here." A lot of thank yous from various players for the communication, because it's important to get this communication. As I speculated, Arc System Works was in data collection mode and trying to figure out what it really needs to be looked at and all the issues. And then he's also reposted this post from Guilty Gear Official stating that, hey, we've updated our list for confirmed issues in the patch as of today, November 6th. And this is that post right here. You can find it on guiltygear.com under news updates. And before, this is like 2 pages long, not even 2 pages, 2 items long. And now they have a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm going to try and go through this relatively quickly, just so we're not here forever. So let's get into it. Leo, a bug was there where Leo could not cancel his normal moves and back turn stance into certain special moves. So that was a reduced functionality. That's something that's been noted for the character. And he's also had an issue where if you performed his overdrive, a special move would come out instead of that, even though you did the overdrive input correctly. And that can be a very big deal, because if you're trying to break the wall with the super and you get a special move, that's very bad. There's been another bug identified where Baiken's Kenju will sometimes have an increased hit count. That's one thing I've heard of. I'm not entirely sure of how that impacted some situations and whatnot, but that's simply because I haven't looked at Baiken in this patch yet. I've been going through the characters in order of their appearance on the patch notes. Under certain conditions, the cooldown time for repeated projectile use is briefer than intended for Kai stun edge, aerial stun edge, and charge stun edge. So this is something I talked about in my Kai video, as well as my 3 bugs Guilty Gear Strive has video, where Kai could do the infinite charge stun edges, right? Because he's firing the following projectile way sooner than he should be able to. He should be limited based on how many projectiles are on screen. And that's been confirmed as a bug. It is going to be fixed. So that's very good. Someone commented that it's not too bad for him to have an infinite because you have burst. No, it's still bad because I have to make decisions with my burst around that infinite. I can't burst this combo because then if he knocks me down, I need my burst to get out of the infinite that he wants to put me in. Or I have to, I have to play around the fact that he can infinite me with my burst. And that's not healthy at all, because once he gets that infinite going, I'm stuck unless I have burst. So that dramatically changes some things against people who would abuse that. So that won't be in the game, which is good. There was an issue with Potemkin Buster. If you RC'd it, the display order of the characters would somehow switch. I guess switch to the HUD. It's one I actually haven't seen or heard until now. Chip had a bug with his tightrope where he could cause the game to be unresponsive after he won. Right, so that was a weird little thing I haven't seen, actually. His super also had a weird property where it could not connect all of its hits while the ice field was active, so just a little bit of new character jank. There's a bug with Mini Faust where it did not behave as intended with a mid-air attack. This one I'm actually not sure about. If a Faust player has any more details on that, do let me know, because that is news to me. This is a very big set of changes right here. So ramlethal has 2 confirmed bugs. I talked about this in my bug video for ramlethal, where it was weird that if she whiffed the sword strike that guard crush, the explosion would then guard crush instead. The explosion doesn't guard crush when the sword connect, but it would guard crush if the sword didn't connect. That seemed a little weird and unintentional from what the patch notes said about what they did in the moves, and they did confirm that was a bug. This next one is very big as well. The sword and explosion attacks from Ramlethal's sword toss still trigger even when Ramlethal takes damage. This has been a huge thing where the character has been considered the best character in the game by far, because she didn't care about trades. She had a sword, she would throw it, and you had to deal with it. If you traded with her when she threw sword, you got full comboed. If you yellow Roman canceled against her, you got full comboed. If you bursted against her, you got full comboed. And that was incredibly unhealthy for the game. And some people would argue that, it's a resource now, they want to be really strong. They have nerfed resources and things like that so that the system mechanics would trump them. They specifically buffed burst to deal with Happy Chaos. and the fact that he would be full screen, as well as to deal with characters who could do burst safe combos and get a lot of guaranteed damage. And so to have Ramlethal have that feature back just for herself after that direction was very odd, to say the least. Shout out to the one commenter who said, I didn't understand how Ramlethal worked when I claimed that these were bugs. Hold that. You're wrong, I'm right. Yeah, it's you. It's you who doesn't understand Ramlethal. Anyways, petty call out aside, it was fun to have some discussions with them, and it's way too good to be vindicated. Anyways, there was another bug with Ramlethal's Calvados where the sword gained a collision push box under certain conditions. That one is one I'm not entirely aware of. The camera sometimes encountered issues when triggering a wall break with Gold Lewis's Skyfish under certain conditions. This is one I have seen on Twitter where basically like the characters after the wall break would spawn in the background of the next stage, and that was just like very disruptive, and it seemed very consistent to do based on all the highlights that I saw. There was another one where if you burst during that, the game would then be unresponsive to inputs. So there was some fishy things going on there, pun not intended. There was a bedman bug as well that came to 6E after call 4B9. That one I haven't particularly seen. Just seemed like an unusual trajectory for an item that he would, or projectile that he would throw out. So these are all unintentional behaviors that will be corrected in an update within November. So it could come out tomorrow, probably not. Could come out next week, could come out by November 30th, but these are things that will be addressed pretty quickly too. So then by the time we get some next big tournaments coming through, like Frosty Faustings in January, for example, this shouldn't be an issue for us. So that's always very good. They've confirmed a couple of other bugs here as well that will be fixed later. So these probably won't be in that first fixing update. So there's some bugs with Ramlethal where her slash and heavy slash attacks would face the wrong way. Jacko could dash cancel her servant shoot even if she didn't hit the servant. So she could like cancel it on whiff, which was very weird. One I actually haven't seen, to be completely transparent. Dizzy's ice field bug. So this is the third bug I talked about in my video on bugs. If you moved at a certain timing, you could get extremely high movement speed. This was the full screen, Raging Demon wild throws and whatnot. So that was a bug. They are going to fix that. So eventually Dizzy players won't have to worry about the opponent just full skipping her setting up an ice field. So she should be able to have that functionality in her kit to then zone and even on block set up the field of ice. To then like try and compromise the opponent's movement, as I think was Daisuke's vision, if you will. There's some conditions where damage information in training mode wasn't correct. There was situations where if you stuck the wall, the attacking player would gain meter back on burst, which is very unintentional. And there was some incorrect text for Asuka as well. But that is all the confirmed bugs at the moment. One thing that isn't listed here is Nagoriyuki seems to have gained the ability to be able to sort of dash block, where he can go into Fukio, but then immediately cancel into an FD block. That was not a function of his before. And I do not recall seeing that on the patch notes themselves, right? So there's no changes to Fukio within the patch. So I don't know if that is a bug that they're going to address, if that's a nice little shadow buff that Nagoriyuki has gotten. That's just one thing I feel like mentioning here. But if any of y'all are aware of any sort of bugs that may exist in the game, I just want to shout out that y'all should, create documentation of it, tag Ken here, as well as tag Arc System Works, Guilty Gear PR potentially. Just try to make it aware just so that the team can be made aware of these issues so that they can address them. It's very important for developers to get this feedback from the player base to then take action to have the game be what they intended it to be. So quite a lot of things in there. There's some things that have obviously have implications to characters that I've already talked about within the patch, as well as things I have yet to talk about. And so I will be referring to this video in those upcoming character breakdowns just to say, hey, we've confirmed this is a bug. See my video on that one. Check all these notes out yourselves and just keep giving feedback to make sure this game can be the best it can be, because that's all a video game developer wants. Thank you all very much. I appreciate the support to the channel so far. When it comes to these Guilty Gear Strive breakdowns, I'll have a couple more coming out this week as I get some time to work on them. And I appreciate all the comments, all the interactions, even ones where I get a little snippy. I do appreciate just the interaction sometimes. So thank you all very much. I'll see you in the next breakdown.